Morning, everybody. It's Monday, May 6th, and we would sure prefer on the May 6th to be doing other things, but it's too wet. And so this morning I thought I would spend some time in this edition of the Better Crops by Barker video series looking at the other crop in this area that can suffer from a tough winter, much like the wheat crop, and that's the alfalfa crop. So this morning we're going to investigate a field here and look at some of the things that have contributed to what we see. We hope that you find it interesting, so stay tuned. Okay, we're out in this alfalfa field now and trying to evaluate just what's going on here. A little history on this field. It's entering its third full year of production, so we had a seedling year plus 2 full harvest seasons. It's been, as most areas in this area, they follow generally a pretty aggressive cut schedule, up to 4 cuts. This particular field was harvested in October of last year, so it has had no chance to regrow. So what we can see in this field, and I've been called out to other fields very similar to this, what you can see in this field right now are traffic patterns from the harvesting activity last October and the compactive effect of that wheel track. And you can also see what I'm sure are tile drainage runs that run on a perfect diagonal across this particular field. Over top of the tile drainage runs, we've got alfalfa. In between the tile drainage runs, we've got weak alfalfa. There's also areas where the water has laid behind the camera, and just like the wheat fields in the previous video, alfalfa does not particularly enjoy being held in water in compacted soil for prolonged periods. And it's the compaction plus just the water, and predominantly it's been the water. The wet fall, the winter and this early spring has just been so wet that the plants that are struggling just haven't had a chance to recover, and we've got some death in this particular field. How do you evaluate whether it's worth keeping? Well, one thing you can use is this circle. It represents a full square foot. You toss it on the ground, similar to what you use a hula hoop in soybeans. You toss it on the ground, and then you count the number of stems inside the circle. It's a bit of a laborious kind of activity. I don't particularly enjoy getting down on my hands and knees and trying to sort out whether there's 55 stems within this circle, which is indicative of full productive stand, or less than 39 plants, 39 shoots, I should say, inside the circle, which is indicative of a field that should be considered to be tore up. As always in variable stands, you've got areas where there's no plants, you've got areas where there's good plants and healthier stands, and so it tends to be a real judgment call at the end of the day whether the field should be kept. This particular one is probably destined. We're going to probably keep it for first cut, but after first cut it really should be turned down and either planted to silage corn, or in my opinion the preferable option once you get into June is Roundup Ready soybeans or Extend soybeans, which allow you to control the regrowth of the alfalfa and still have pretty good yield potential on those soybeans. But my favorite tool for investigating alfalfa fields is simply a shovel. And dig up some plants, dig up some roots, look at them, see what they look like, and that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, we've got the plants here that we have dug up, and personally I find the easiest way to judge plant health in alfalfa is to just take your fingers and pull back. Alfalfa roots do separate quite easily at this time of year. Pull back, separate the roots, and take a look inside the root structure, inside the crown. And on a healthy plant that's at least like this one, which is about as healthy as you have in this particular field, you do see, for the most part, very white root structure. You see white crown structure, and that's indicative of a plant that is in reasonable health and certainly is going to grow and contribute to yield. Conversely, if you take one that's not nearly, that you're kind of wondering whether he's going to live or not, you do the same thing. You pull them apart and you look inside. You're going to see a little bit of brown discoloration. You're going to see some weakness in the crown. It's indicative of injury, combination of injury, disease, water, and it's just a debate whether this particular plant will contribute to yield. If he does, it's going to be pretty limited. I mean, and the next thing you do is you just grab a poor soul that's dead, and if you look inside them, you see even more water-soaked tissue inside the root. You see a discolored, badly discolored crown, and it's not hard to figure out the plant's dead. You don't have to be a genius to see that. But those are the kind of symptoms that you look for. Soft root tissue, soft crowns, and the more white, the more firm that those crowns and internal root structure is, the better that plant health is. It will then contribute to yield versus the weaker plants that are going to struggle through the balance of the season. So that's the particular situation in this field. We're going to move on and look at something that's just a little bit different now. Okay, we're in a second field at the moment, and I wanted to demonstrate one key component on alfalfa management, and that is the effect of leaving alfalfa dormant through the late cutting season of September and October. It's not unusual to get a call during that period at the end of September, and the conversation kind of goes like this. It'll be a, "Russ, I want to cut my alfalfa. What do you think?" And I'll, first question that comes to mind, and say, "Okay, do you need the feed?" "Well, no, not really." "Okay, then why do you want to keep that alfalfa?" "Well, there's a lot of feed out there. It just seems a shame to let it go to waste." And I'll think to myself, well, okay, I don't necessarily say this, but I automatically think, okay, well then why are you bothering to talk to me? Just go ahead and cut it if that's what you really want to do. However, if you want my honest opinion, I would suggest that you leave that field and not cut it. And the reason for that is the research is very clear that a field that is allowed to rest well in the fall will more than compensate for itself during the first cut. You'll get more feed at that first cut, certainly every bit as much, and the quality will likely be better than if you harvest that crop in the latter part of September, first part of October. And the other thing is that when you get a tough year, like what we've gone through, a tough winter, your winter survival generally is better. Now, even in this field here, we've got spots where the water and ice laid. It's very similar to the winter wheat situation. Even a good field of alfalfa will still have some holes in it from ice injury. However, what makes a big difference in the overall survivability of alfalfa plants that are left are these little dead stems that were the stems that were present last fall. The leaves freeze and fall off, but the stem stays attached to the ground. And this stem acts like a life preserver, because oxygen comes and travels down the stem and inhabits, it gets into the crown. And if you can keep oxygen, it's like wheat, if you can keep oxygen in the crown, and it will have a much better chance of surviving. Alfalfa's the same way. That stem will provide oxygen for the crown. You take that stem off, you've got no way of getting oxygen into the crown when it's under a lot of snow or water. And that factor does contribute to better winter survival. So, the next fall, when some of you guys phone up and ask me about cutting alfalfa, I'm going to refer you back to this video and remind you that that may not always be a good idea. Anyway, that's it for today. Good luck. We hope the week treats you well, and take care. Thank you.